Part 1.
You will hear a conversation between a customer and a receptionist at a car rental agency. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Hello, is this Southern Rental Car?
Yes, it is.
I wonder if you could help me. I'm ringing from Nelson, but I'm coming over to Auckland for 12 days and I'd like to hire a car.
Okay, I'll fill in a booking for you now. First, can I take your name?
Yes, it's William Waddell.
Sorry, could you spell your surname?
Yes, it's Waddell.
Thanks. Now, can I have an address and phone number?
Sure. I live at 10 Robin Place. That's Robyn Place.
And that's Nelson, isn't it?
That's right. Do you want my home number or my mobile?
Home number will be fine.
Okay, it's 07 263 8666.
Great. Now, can I also have a credit card number?
Do I have to pay by credit card?
Well, we need a credit card number as a guarantee. It's a standard policy for car rentals.
Okay, well, I'll pay by Visa then. The card number is 4550 1392 8309 3221.
And the expiry date?
Sorry?
Your card, when does it expire?
Oh, next July.
Right. Now, how long did you want the car for? 12 days, did you say?
No, I only need a car for 10 days, from the 2nd to the 11th of next month.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you will have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, what type of car are you looking to hire?
Well, I'm not too worried about the model of the car, but I understand that you have rental cars from just $25 a day. Is that correct?
We do sometimes have the $25 deals, but only in the low season. For the period you're looking at, the cheapest we have is $35. However, that price includes unlimited kilometres.
Sorry, did you say unlimited kilometres? What does that mean exactly?
That means that no matter how far you go, the cost is the same. Some companies charge for rental and then charge again for every kilometre you actually drive.
Well, I am going to be travelling quite long distances. I'm visiting relatives and they live quite far apart from each other. So unlimited kilometres are probably a good idea.
If you're travelling long distances, you would be better off with an automatic. Changing gears in a manual can make it more expensive on petrol.
Okay, I'll take the automatic then.
Right. So that's an automatic car for 10 days from the 2nd to the 11th. That's all booked. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's fine. Oh, sorry, what do I need to bring with me when I pick up the car?
All you need is your driving licence.
Right, well, thanks very much. Bye.
That is the end of Part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 2. Part 2.
First, look at questions 11
Hello and welcome to today's Buyer Beware program, where we give you some tips on how to spend your money wisely. Now, in today's show, we're looking at beds for children and babies. Let's start by looking at baby cots. That's for children of up to 3 years old. We tested 3 different cots, all in the budget price range, and as usual, we will feature the good points, the problems, and our verdict. The first cot we looked at was by BabySafe, and it had several good points to recommend it. Our testers liked the fact that it had 4 wheels, so it was easy to move around. The only slight problems with this cot were that it had no brakes, but they didn't think that mattered too much. At first they were a bit concerned about the side bar, because they felt babies could trap their fingers in it. But our testers felt that this was unlikely to happen, so they've given this one a verdict of satisfactory. The next cot was by Choice Cots, and this time our testers were pleased to find a cot which is simple to put together, unlike others we looked at. On the minus side, our testers did not like the fact that the side of the cot did not drop down, making it difficult to pick up newborn babies. However, the real problem with this cot was the space between the bars. Our testers found they were too wide and a baby could easily trap his head. We felt this was a real safety hazard, and so we've labelled this one dangerous, I'm afraid.
Before you hear the rest of the programme, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 18 to 20.
And finally, better news for the Mother's Choice cot. This cot was slightly different in that although the sidebar did not drop down, the base could be raised or lowered into 2 different positions, making it safe as well as convenient. The negatives for this one were quite minor. The only niggle everyone had was the fact that it has no wheels, and the only other problem anyone could find was that there were pictures, which were simply stuck on and so could easily become detached. The makers have now promised to discontinue this practice. As this cot will then be safe in every way, we have made the Mother's Choice cot our best buy. Congratulations, Mother's Choice. So what features should you look for in a baby's cot? Well, obviously, safety is a very important factor, as well as comfort and convenience. We recommend that if you are buying a cot, do make sure that any metal present is not rusted or bent in any way. You should ensure your cot has only rounded or smooth edging without any sharp edges. This is especially important for wooden cots. And now, on to beds for toddlers.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
You will hear a discussion between 2 design students and their tutor on a practical assignment. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
So, have you chosen a product yet?
I think so. We'd like to build a gyroscopic exercise aid.
Sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Well, we did some research and were amazed to discover the sheer range of applications for gyroscopic technology. Gyroscopes are used in laser and optical devices and can be found in many consumer appliances too.
Right. Tell me about this product specifically, though. The aim of the assignment is to create something practical, functional and beneficial for consumers. Justify your decision.
Well, we believe we can design and build a cheap and effective muscle strengthening aid by taking advantage of the inertial forces created by a gyroscope.
Yes. What we want to do is design a ball which can be held in the palm. Within the ball, there will be a simple gyroscope. This gyroscope can be set in motion by movement of the lower arm and wrist together in sync. The device will not require any external power source because it will be sustained by the movement of the arm and wrist. This will create considerable resistance and an excellent lower arm strengthening aid. It will be simple to design and cheap to produce, yet extremely effective.
This all sounds very good. I'm impressed.
Thanks, Mark. We're glad you like it. I think we're really onto something here. Our research has told us there's nothing comparable in the market and that a product like this would have multiple uses. Not only could it be used as an everyday toning and exercise device, it could also be beneficial to people in rehabilitation who have suffered serious lower arm injuries. We see the product being marketed towards high-performance athletes, like tennis and golf players, for whom lower arm strength is vital too.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
I've heard enough to give your project the go-ahead. Now, let's talk costs.
Right. Well, we estimate that around £3,000 will be required for product development.
You mean to build the prototype?
Exactly. And we'll need half that again to carry out some product testing.
And what's your timeline for the project?
The prototype should be ready a fortnight after work on the design starts, and we'll need another 6 weeks for testing.
We want to enlist the help of 15 people to test the prototype. Ideally, we want 5 professional athletes to try it out, 5 recovery patients, and the remainder of the subjects will be gym members, our 3 target markets.
Okay. Well, you have a lot of work to do, but you've certainly made a good start. Let's meet again on Monday to get the ball rolling.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4. A second session on interview skills.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Hello there everyone, and welcome to our second session on interview skills. Now we have already looked at what to say in the interview and what to wear. So let's consider non-verbal behaviour, or as it is more often called, body language. Believe it or not, research has shown that this is what makes the strongest impression on people we meet. Frequent eye contact is one aspect of body language which goes down very well with interviewers and creates a good impression. Looking at people means that you're sure of yourself and confident. In fact, one famous car company even makes a note of the level of eye contact candidates make during their recruitment process for this very reason. So it is very important to maintain eye contact, but be careful how you do it. Avoid staring, as this is a sign of hostility. But avoiding eye contact altogether and looking away or down is even worse. But the general message is maintain that eye contact. Believe me, the eyes have it. Now, along with eye contact, smiling is one of the other important non-verbal actions which say more to the interviewer than any answers you give. A good way to create a good impression during the first few minutes of your interview is to smile warmly when you meet the person or people who will be interviewing you. It shows them that you are relaxed. Facial scanning takes a triangular route, from the eyes down to the mouth and back to the eyes. Even when you aren't speaking, an interviewer will be noticing your mouth, so give a relaxed smile whenever you feel it is appropriate. Now, not surprisingly, interviewers pay most attention to a person's face or head during an interview, and they certainly pick up a lot on what they see. Researchers have identified nodding as going down very well with interviewers. This simple gesture shows that you are listening and paying attention. Another useful head gesture is to tilt your head slightly to one side. Now this reinforces that you are listening well to what the interviewer is saying to you. However, tilting your head back isn't such a good idea, as this signals arrogance. And drooping your head forward indicates that you are lacking in confidence. And as we all know, that is exactly the opposite of what an interviewer wants to see. So the message is, mind your head. Now, posture, or the way that you carry yourself, is an important area of body language to be aware of. And it is one of the first body language signals that interviewers read as you enter a room. Posture also matters when you're sitting down. A well-supported position, with your shoulders square and sitting full back on the chair, will give the impression that you are confident, which is just what the interviewer wants to see. I once interviewed a candidate who perched right on the edge of her chair throughout. I kept feeling that she was about to run out of the room in terror. However, occasionally leaning forward slightly when the interviewer is speaking reinforces the message that you are keen and interested, as well as showing the interviewer that you're actually listening to what they are saying. But don't overdo it by leaning too far forward. That can be a bit distracting for the interviewer. Now, we all tend to use our hands to gesture, especially when we are explaining something or as we become involved in what we are saying. This is fine. It shows that we are keen and perhaps even excited about something. However, what can work against someone at an interview is when they fidget. This kind of moving about is, of course, what we do when we are nervous, and fidgeting can be very distracting to watch. So if this is a problem for you when you get nervous, it is a good idea to practice sitting with your hands gently resting in your lap or on the arms of the chair. Try not to fold your arms though, as this tends to look uncomfortable or hostile. But whatever movements you make, be careful with your hands. They need to be kept well away from your mouth, head or face. In fact, experts say that when a hand flies up to or over a person's mouth, it implies that the person is worried or wound up about something. For most of us, staying calm in an interview situation is a challenge, so putting in a bit of practice in advance will help. So, to end with, here are a couple of suggestions on how to improve our body language. A good idea is to choose a role model, such as an actor or fictional character, or a public figure or someone you know. Then sit calmly and imagine that you are this person. Now, other countries have different body language signals. So remember that if you are being interviewed abroad, you may want to check if there are any special gestures to avoid. It's also a good idea to get used to reading body language signals. You can do this by simply watching how people interact in public places, such as on the streets or in restaurants. And finally, when people have struck up a rapport, it is reflected through the natural mirroring of each other's body language movements. So you can use this to your advantage by occasionally mirroring the interviewer's own movements. For example, if they lean over to one side, you can do the same a few seconds later. It helps to create a special effect known as similar to me. But don't do it too often or the interviewer will notice. Now, any questions before we move on to interview listening skills?
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.